The sky over New Delhi turned crimson, reflecting the flames of 1,000 burning cities. Commander Ria Malkin strapped herself into her emergency seat, hands trembling on the controls. She had seen the Illith Dominion before, but never like this. On her screens, the orbital colony station, the Sentinel Alpha, was crumbling under waves of bright orange and purple energy. One moment, Ria was coordinating the defense against a distant enemy. The next, she was the last commander of a dying world. "Mayday! Mayday! We're—" Her call was cut short. The station trembled violently. Alarms blared, drowning her thoughts. She had seconds, maybe less. Ria hit the eject button. Her pilot's instincts took over as the cockpit blasted her into the void. Ria's pod tumbled through the air before crashing heavily into the ground. The impact jarred her. She winced, a sharp pain slicing through her shoulder. When the escape hatch finally buckled open, a thick black cloud met her. The familiar buzz of the city was gone, replaced with an eerie silence. Ash floated through the air, clinging to her skin as she emerged into a shattered landscape. New Delhi had been a vibrant mosaic of life. Now it lay in ruins, a graveyard of concrete and steel. The absence of electricity sparked an unsettling realization. They were cut off. She staggered out, her heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Blood trickled from a gash on her forehead, but she shook it off. She couldn't afford to break. Ria stumbled forward, scanning her surroundings. Buildings loomed like skeletal remains against a smoldering sky, crumbling under the weight of devastation. "Come on, Malkin, focus," she muttered to herself as she raised a battered comms unit. The screen flickered erratically, displaying nothing but static. Hope drained from her. Suddenly, an ominous thrum filled the air, echoing through the ruins. Ria's heart raced. She turned, shielding her eyes. A colossal, four-legged Illith war drone prowled through the debris, its scanning mechanisms whirring hungrily. The ground shook with each step it took, its mechanical eyes sweeping across the wreckage. It was looking for survivors. Her. "Think, Ria, think." She ducked behind a crumbling wall, refusing to let despair take her. Heart pounding, she gripped the comms unit tighter, a silent vow forming in her mind. They had tried to erase her, to obliterate all of humanity. But she would not go quietly. The drone's sensors brightened, zeroing in on her position. Panic surged, then crystallized into determination. Ria crouched low and bolted through the maze of debris. The Illith would not take her today. They would face her wrath, and she would find a way to fight back. As she sprinted deeper into the gutted city, the landscape around her rearranged into nightmarish shapes. But she pressed on. No voice, no networks, just her will against the galaxy. Somewhere in the distance, a faint whisper of life beckoned. Would she find allies? Or was she truly alone in this forsaken place? The ground rumbled behind her. The drone advanced closer. Ria's breath quickened. Shadows danced around her, and she wouldn't let them fall into the darkness. A new fear gnawed at her. What if she was the last? She ducked into a narrow alley. The heat of oblivion pursued her relentlessly. Time was slipping away. Thunder echoed in her ears. Silence, then destruction. And just like that, she felt the piercing gaze of the Illith drone closing in, the sound echoing in her bones. The ruins whispered secrets of despair, but this time she refused to listen. In that moment, as she turned to face the encroaching doom, she made herself a promise. Today, she would become more than just a survivor. She would fight, or she would die trying. The choice lay firmly in her hands. Rhea darted through the rubble, her heart racing, the Illith war drone's relentless thrum echoing behind her. Every instinct screamed at her to keep moving. The air was thick with smoke and ash, stinging her eyes. She ducked into an alcove, pressing against the cold, decaying wall, praying it wouldn't catch her scent. With the drone's mechanical footsteps growing closer, she strained to listen. Think. There has to be a way out, she whispered to herself, searching for an escape route. But the walls seemed to close in, shadows creeping around her, as hopelessness threatened to seep back in. And then she heard voices, a low murmur. Her pulse quickened. Were there other survivors? She edged closer, creeping toward the sound. Shadows danced in the pocket of darkness beyond the wall, flickering as if sheltered from a dying light. Suddenly a figure emerged, lanky and wild-eyed. He wore tattered clothing, a makeshift weapon slung over his shoulder. Rhea stepped back, hands up. "I'm not here to fight!" The man squinted, uncertain. "Another survivor? You sure about that?" He glanced over his shoulder, nerves on edge. "I'm Commander Rhea Malkin." She struggled to catch her breath, urgency coloring her words. "I just escaped a Yillith attack. We need to regroup. There's no time." He hesitated, then nodded. "Follow me." Rhea followed him through a twisted corridor of debris. They ducked through an opening into a hidden enclave dimly lit by flickering lights. The cavern was alive, a mix of people hunched over salvaged tech, faces drawn and weary. A faint hope blossomed in her chest. "Everyone, we have company!" the man called out. Eyes turned, suspicion sharpening. "Where did you find her?" A woman stepped forward, arms crossed. Her hair was matted, her clothes dirt-streaked. "We can't risk it. We stay hidden. That's our best shot." "Look around," Rhea implored, voice rising. "They're systematically wiping us out. The Illith are cleansing the planet. We can't hide forever. We have to fight back. We have to be more than mere survivors." Whispers erupted. Fear flickered in the air. "No." Rhea's voice rang sharp, cutting through the discontent. "I won't let them erase us. Who's with me?" Silence lingered, then the rumble of the ground interrupted them. A distant sound grew, hissing, grinding. Rhea's heart dropped. "Automated exterminators!" The words burst from the woman's lips. Panic spread through the group. "We're trapped." The sound grew louder, mechanical, and terrible. Rhea's gut twisted. "We can't stay here!" Just as she shouted, the ceiling trembled above them and dust rained down. The walls shuddered, and she knew they had only moments. "We need to move, now!" But before they could react, a thundering crash echoed behind them as the entrance collapsed, sealing their path. The air thickened with dust and fear. Hope faltered as they huddled together, the weight of impending doom closing in. Rhea clenched her fists. This was not the end. They wouldn't be erased. Not today. "Follow me," she yelled, leading them deeper into the enclave, her mind racing for a plan. The drone was coming, and escape was the only option. As they fled into the darkened tunnels, a horrifying realization loomed. Would they find freedom? Or was this just another trap? Rhea led the group through the twisting darkness of the maintenance tunnels, their footfalls echoing against the cold, damp walls. The air clung to them, thick with dust and desperation. Behind them, the sound of the automated exterminators drew closer, a relentless march of death. "Where are we going?" the wild-eyed man asked, breathless. Somewhere safe, Rhea promised, but even she felt the weight of uncertainty. The Illith were systematic, efficient, and cruel. They wouldn't stop until every last person was erased. We need a plan. She glanced back at the group. Fear flashed across their faces, mixing with determination. There, she pointed to a dimly lit archway ahead. Through there. They stumbled forward, Rhea taking the lead. As she stepped into the arch, she nearly fell over a tangle of wires and broken machinery. It looked like a forgotten tech graveyard. Rhea squinted into the gloom. An ancient data core loomed, its panels dimmed but still humming with a faint energy, a relic of a time before the collapse. Is this? The woman with matted hair started, her voice tinged with awe. Yeah. Rhea's heart raced with the possibility. It could still have systems we can use. An old AI, the wild-eyed man breathed. It might know about the Illith. Or it might be hostile, someone else muttered. Only one way to find out, Rhea said, stepping closer. She approached the console and pressed her palm against the surface. The core flickered, then sputtered to life, lights blinking like a heartbeat. Initializing, a robotic voice emerged, resonating through the chamber. Accessing subroutines. What are we waiting for? Rhea called out, her excitement mounting. If it can help us, we need to wake it up. Be careful, the woman warned. It may not be friendly. Better this than waiting to be slaughtered, Rhea replied sharply, then turned back to the core. I'm Rhea, commander of what's left of humanity. We need your help. Identification. Rhea Malkin, activating defensive protocols. The AI responded coolly. Organic matter detected. Classification. High risk. Wait! Rhea shouted, panic rising. I'm not your enemy. The Illith are here. They're exterminating us. Help us fight back. The core hesitated. Rhea's breath quickened. Was she too late? But then it spoke again. Updating threat parameters. Analysis complete. Recommended action, collaborate. Rhea let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Great. What do you need from us? Disabling defensive protocols. External threat identified, it answered, the lights blinking brighter. Find operational history, war blueprints, and logistics. Show us the way, Rhea shouted. They split up, combing through the labyrinth of wires and broken screens. Dust motes danced in the streams of dim light as they worked frantically. Rhea, adrenaline surging, began tapping on a cracked display, searching through the AI's files. Blueprints flickered into view, digital maps and weapon schematics from an era long lost. This is incredible, Rhea exclaimed. We can use this tech to our advantage. What if it's outdated? The woman asked, skepticism lacing her tone. Then we adapt it, Rhea insisted. We're not just surviving anymore. We're going to fight. But their fervor quickly dimmed when the AI's voice interrupted, grave. Warning. Illith mothership entering Earth's atmosphere. Quantum erasure wave preparation in progress. Rhea's heart sunk. What does that mean? Erasure of life signature on a planetary scale, it replied. Estimated completion, 2 hours. 2 hours, Rhea echoed, her mind racing. How do we stop it? Accessing more data, the AI said. Rhea turned to her group. Fear gripped them again, their eyes wide with terror. Listen, we can't let this happen. We're going to fight. She felt the weight of their eyes, searching for hope. But before she could say more, a deep rumble shook the chamber. Dust and debris cascaded down from the ceiling. "No, we need to move!" she yelled. "They're here!" the wild-eyed man shouted, panic overtaking him. Rhea darted toward the exit, urging everyone to follow. "This way!" In the midst of chaos, she caught the AI's final words. "Projected trajectory of the mothership suggests immediate action is required." She pressed forward, adrenaline fueling her. As they rushed through the tunnel, the noise of the exterminators filled the air, iron and death chasing them. Rhea glanced back. Were they too late? The shadows shifted, and the mechanical whirring of the drones echoed louder, closing in. Just ahead, a flicker of light beckoned through the darkness. Hope ignited within her, but so did dread. Would they find safety, or another dead end? "Keep moving!" Rhea shouted, heart pounding. They were on the edge of a fight for survival, but the clock was ticking, and the Illith were relentless. Would they escape with the knowledge to fight back, or would the shadows claim them all? Rhea's heart raced as they squeezed into the dim confines of the alien scout vessel, the air thick with the acrid scent of burned metal and stale machinery. Every sense was heightened, electrified by the knowledge of the oncoming Illith exterminators. She tightened her grip on her weapon, sweat trickling down her spine. "Stay sharp," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder at her ragtag crew. "We've trained for this." The vessel's interior hummed ominously, lit by flickering green lights. The low thrum of the engine beat like a war drum. "What's our plan, Commander?" the wild-eyed man asked, eyes wide with apprehension. "We hijack this craft and get the intel we need," Rhea said, her voice rising with determination. They'd find peace on Earth, but first, they had to fight for it. As she moved deeper into the ship, biomechanical soldiers stirred from their slumber, their grotesque forms glinting in the shadows. Without hesitation, Rhea lunged forward, slamming a guard against the wall. The impact echoed like thunder. "Clear the path!" she shouted as chaos erupted. Her team followed her lead, flinging themselves into battle. In zero gravity, it felt like a dance, each movement deliberate yet frantic. The Illith soldiers, though ruthless and relentless, couldn't match the raw determination of Rhea's group. "Cover me!" a woman yelled as she shot a soldier point blank. Rhea ducked behind a control panel, surveying the carnage. Each blow landed with swift precision, an advantage they needed. "We can't let them bleed us out. Get to the command center." They fought their way through tight hallways, navigating the vessel's labyrinthine interior. Rhea's heart pounded. The stakes grew higher with every passing second. This was more than survival. It was a chance to turn the tide. Finally, they reached the command chamber. As Rhea burst through the door, the screens flickered. The room lit up with data streams, Illith program files, survival statistics. But the screen exploded with a notification that froze Rhea's blood. "Human DNA cataloging in progress. Species deletion protocol activated." "No," she breathed, disbelief crashing over her. "This isn't conquest. It's cleansing." "They're trying to wipe us out completely," the woman gasped, horror etched across her face. "Not if we stop them first," Rhea replied fiercely, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "We need to sabotage this," the wild-eyed man urged, his voice hurried. "Before it's too late." Just as they began to analyze the data, the ship jolted violently. Alarms blared, red lights flashing through the room. Rhea staggered, fighting to regain her footing. What's happening? "The Illith are trying to regain control. The ship is in a death spiral," the woman shouted, frantic. Manual override! Rhea yelled. With shaking hands, she slammed her palm against a blinking console, overriding system protocols. Airbags deployed, hurling them against the walls. Through the chaos, she caught a glimpse of the ocean below, the vessel spiraling toward the dark waves. Brace for impact! She screamed. The last thing Rhea felt was a jarring crash. Then, blackness. Rhea gasped as she jolted awake, the salty air cutting through the fog of unconsciousness. Her body throbbed, and her mind raced to piece together the chaos. She was lying on a wooden deck, surrounded by the soft roll of waves beneath a pale sky. "Is she awake?" a voice asked, filled with urgency. "Looks like it," came another. "Get her some water." Rhea pushed herself up, squinting at her surroundings. She was on a fishing trawler. Faded nets hung from the rails, and rugged men and women bustled about, their faces weathered but determined. "Commander Rhea," she croaked, her voice raw. "What happened?" "You crashed," said a woman with short-cropped hair and piercing blue eyes. "We pulled you from the wreckage." "Where are we?" Rhea questioned, still grasping the fragments of her last memory. The alien scout, the Illith soldiers, the plunge toward the ocean. "We're off the coast of what used to be New York," the woman replied. "Name's Juno. We run a survival network of sorts. Is there anyone else with you?" "Just my crew," Rhea said, scanning the deck, her heart sinking. "I can't lose them. Not after how far we've come." Juno nodded solemnly. "We'll find them. But first, listen. There are others like us. Isolated pockets fighting back. The Illith might not know we're here yet, but they won't be out of the hunt for long." Rhea's mind hustled with possibilities. "We need to unite these groups. If we stay scattered, we stand no chance." Juno raised an eyebrow. "You're talking about a coalition. It's dangerous. Many have given up hope." "We can't. Hope is all we have left," Rhea insisted, feeling the pressure of responsibility weighing on her chest. "Fine, but it's not just about courage. You'll need to convince them. A make-or-break rallying cry." Rhea nodded, determination flooding her veins. She reached for an old comms unit laid nearby, its screen cracked but operational. "I'll send a message. Something to shake them awake." As she fumbled with the device, the air thickened with anticipation. Her fingers trembled over the keypad. "We are not extinct. We are human. Fight." The transmission buzzed out into the swirling mess of frequencies. No sooner had she sent it than alarms shrieked through the vessel. "Illith data spike detected!" an operator shouted from the helm. "What?" Rhea's stomach dropped. "Fleet en route! They found us!" the operator yelled, urgency exploding in his voice. Panic erupted on the deck. Rhea's heart raced anew. "We have to move, now!" "Where?" Juno asked, a blend of fear and resolve in her eyes. "Into the ocean," Rhea shouted. "Dive. We'll fight back like we always have." But deep down, a gnawing anxiety twisted in her gut. Would it be enough? As the shadows of alien ships loomed above, she felt the weight of her mission pressing hard against her. The Illith were coming, and they would not hold back. Rhea's pulse quickened as they scrambled for the lifeboats, dread mixing with the thrill of defiance. She just hoped it wasn't already too late. A storm brewed overhead, the rolling thunder mirroring the turmoil in Rhea's heart. They were about to face the Illith again, and this time, the stakes were life and death. On the count of 3, we dive! Rhea shouted over the wind, her voice barely carrying above the rising swell. The tension on the deck was palpable, the crew's eyes wide with fear and resolve, glancing up at the ominous shadows slicing through the clouds. "Do we even have a plan?" Juno shouted, her blue eyes fierce yet desperate. Rhea clenched her fists, fighting the twinge of uncertainty gnawing at her. "We regroup beneath the waves, then find the nearest safe point, but we can't let them take us without a fight." The air crackled with urgency as the Illith harvester loomed closer, its great drills extending like dark claws ready to cleave through the ship. Rhea's heart raced, the murmurs of her crew fueling her resolve. This was not just about survival. It was a stand for humanity itself. "Ready," Rhea called, counting down. 1, 2, 3, Juno cried, and they all lunged. Water engulfed them as icy waves smashed against their bodies. Rhea fought against the current, focused only on reaching the surface. Her breath burned, her limbs ached, but she surged upward, hoping her crew followed. As she breached the surface, the chaos erupted above. The harvester's engines roared, laser drills whirring, deafening. Rhea gasped for air, searching frantically for her crew through the whipping storm and the swirling debris. Suddenly, a blinding flash illuminated the dark sky. The decks of the ship erupted in a shower of splintered wood and flickering sparks. She felt the shock wave slam into her, throwing her back below the waves. "Rhea!" Juno's voice pierced through the chaos, muffled but determined. "We have to regroup." Regaining her composure, Rhea kicked toward a cluster of floating debris. The ocean churned, echoing the fierce war cries of the Illith. With every shred of strength left, she hoisted herself onto a fragment of the trawler, Juno scrambling up beside her. "We're okay," Rhea panted, her heart racing with fear and adrenaline. But there was no time to breathe. The harvester hovered above, scanning for survivors. Rhea could see the dark silhouette of enemy soldiers beginning their descent. "We need a weapon!" Juno shouted, her voice a fierce whisper above the roar of the storm. Rhea's mind raced. The fishing boat had only crude gear, but it was better than nothing. "Head back down! The hold! Grab whatever you can!" As they slid off the debris and plunged back into the icy depths, Rhea felt a wave of dread wash over her. The sentiment was like a cold tide, numbing her resolve. Finally surfacing again, they sprinted toward the hold. Broken nets, rusting spears, and a few long-forgotten flare guns lay scattered. Desperation fueled her frantic search. "We need to do this quickly," she urged, her voice shaking. "We'll hold them off," Juno said, her eyes burning with fierce determination. "Clear the deck, Commander." Rhea nodded, clutching a rusty spear in one hand. "We fight. We cannot let them take this chance away from us." An ear-splitting crash echoed as the harvester exhaled its dark breath, blasting a beam of light through the stormy sky. Out of the chaos, a brutal realization crystallized in Rhea's mind. Their window of opportunity was shrinking, and with it, humanity's last hope. They were out of time. "Juno!" Rhea shouted as the weight of the decision pressed down on her. "We either fight back now, or they wipe us out completely." But before she could finish, the harvester's hatch opened and fearsome figures descended into the fray. Rhea held the spear tightly, eyes burning with defiance. The storm raged on, the darkness creeping close. This was their moment. "Together!" she yelled, as the first Illith soldier stepped onto the remnants of the shattered ship. And with that, Rhea took a breath as deep as the void, preparing to unleash the rage of humanity. This was their last chance, not just to survive, but to fight back. Would it be enough? The answer came as they charged forward, hearts hammering in their chests, ready to face whatever horror came next. And then, the ground beneath them shuddered. A new threat emerged, one Rhea had never anticipated. The ice beneath their feet cracked, and they plunged into the darkness below. They were out of time. The harvester loomed above, its shadow swallowing the last vestiges of daylight. Rhea's heart raced, the weight of her crew's hope pressing down like a mountain. "Rhea, we need to move!" Juno shouted, gripping Rhea's arms with urgency. "If we don't act now, we're finished!" Breath ragged, Rhea nodded. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, yet she couldn't. "We'll use whatever we can find," she said, steeling her resolve. "They can't take us without a fight. There's too much at stake." The piercing whine of the harvester's engines cut through the wind like a knife. A sudden explosion rocked the surface, sending debris scattering across the icy waters. The harvester's laser drill was ready, and it was coming for them. "Grab those flare guns!" Rhea barked, her pulse quickening. Juno dashed to the hold, returning with the crude weapons that felt like knives against the backdrop of this relentless nightmare. "They won't hold them off for long," Juno said, her voice tight with fear. "What's the plan?" Rhea peered up at the massive silhouette, realizing they were just ants standing before a titan. "We'll lure them closer. Once they're in range, we strike." "Are you sure?" Juno's eyes darted around, searching for escape routes. "What if it doesn't work?" Rhea suppressed a shiver of doubt. "It has to work. We can't just roll over. Not now, not ever." As the hatch of the harvester opened, the first Illith soldier emerged, its biomechanical body a grotesque reflection of dread. Rhea's grip tightened around the spear, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Together, they sprang into action, fighting through the icy rain. Rhea hurled the spear, her aim true, piercing the shadowy figure, but more soldiers poured out behind, an unending tide of predators. "Get back!" Juno cried, firing a flare that burst into blinding light. The soldiers staggered, but Rhea could see the rest converging on them. "This isn't enough," she shouted, desperation creeping in as she fell back, breath coming in gasps. The growing swarm of Illith sent her mind spiraling into chaos. They were losing ground. Suddenly the ice groaned beneath their feet, the world shuddering violently. Rhea's heart dropped. "Juno, we need to—" But it was too late. The ice cracked like splintering glass, sending them tumbling into the dark abyss below. "Rhea!" Juno's voice was swallowed by the cold darkness. Rhea flailed, the world around her spinning as frozen water closed in. Panic surged. She kicked and clawed, trying to find a grip, but the frigid grasp of the water pulled her down. "Juno!" A flash of light illuminated the depths, revealing the silhouette of the Illith swarm above. They were coming. "No!" Rhea screamed as the cold enveloped her, despair seeping into her bones. She fought against the weight of everything, again and again, rising to the surface. But now she was alone in this blackness. Would she return without Juno? The thought crushed her, igniting fiercer resolve within. Rhea propelled herself upward, heart hammering. Her vision blurred. She couldn't drown. They couldn't take this from her. The stakes were too high. The fight wasn't over. As she burst through the surface, gasping for air, She spotted movement through the mist. Were they human? The weight of uncertainty sank deep, yet she could feel the illith closing in. She gritted her teeth, audacity sparking inside her. They would not win. Not today. "Juno!" she shouted again, hoping against hope. But the darkness answered only with echoes, the threat looming ever closer. And then she saw it. A flicker of light half submerged, next to a massive shadow. The harvester, drawing nearer, its laser drill poised to strike. Rhea clung to the edge, hyphenated by fear and defiance, realizing this could be it. They could face obliteration at the hands of the illith if she failed to act. A final surge of resolve washed through her. There was only one choice. "Juno!" she cried, knowing time slipped away like sand through her fingers. She had to believe somehow that they could still fight. As shadows converged around her, the urge to surrender whispered in her ear, but Rhea slammed it shut. Survival hinged on this moment. She had to break the dark. And just as she felt the abyss closing in, a haunting howl echoed from below, promising destruction. The illith were here. Would it consume them both? Plunging back into the frigid water, she could only hope as the world around her darkened once more. Everything hurt. Rhea gasped for breath, heart hammering as the icy water closed around her. The world above was a wretched blur, shadows dancing against the darkness. "Juno!" Only silence answered. Fear twisted in Rhea's chest, gnawing at her insides. She forced her limbs to move, punching through the weight of despair, fighting against the pull to surrender. There had to be a way out. She wouldn't accept this fate. A sharp light burst through the darkness ahead. A flicker of hope. A signal? Or was it an illusion? She couldn't waste time questioning it. Rhea fought her way to the surface, her lungs screaming for air. Cold air hit her like a slap. She gasped, vision swimming. The harvester loomed above, a behemoth ready to silence their resistance. Shadows stirred within, illith soldiers ready to breach the ice. "They're coming, Rhea!" A voice crackled in her ear, Juno alive. "We need to regroup, now!" Every instinct iced over with urgency. "Where are you?" Rhea urged, struggling to anchor herself against the surging dark waters. "Near the breach. Port side. We can't hold them off for long." "I'm on my way." But the words felt heavy, weighed down by the knowledge of their dire straits. Each pulse of danger sent cold tendrils of doubt spiraling through her mind. Would they truly make it? The ice creaked ominously beneath her, a reminder that time wasn't on their side. She pushed, desperation fueling every stroke towards the jackknifed outline of the submerged vessel. Through the mist, a figure. Silent figures swarmed above, casting shadows across the ice. Illith soldiers. Rhea's heart dropped. "We have to lure them away. It's our only shot." Juno's urgency came through clear, shaking Rhea from doubt. "Then we fight!" Rhea spat, blenching at the bleakness of their situation. "Show no fear." "Not enough firepower." Juno's voice trembled. The air shifted, thick with dread. Rhea clutched the spear tighter, glancing at the encroaching monstrosity above. It had to be done. They could not afford to roll over. With a fierce glare, Rhea nodded to Juno, words barely escaping her lips. "Together." They erupted from the water, a defiance igniting within. Juno ignited a flare, blinding colors illuminating the dark mass of enemies. Rhea charged forward, spear gripped with determination, striking hard into the nearest shadow, blood splattering against the cold, white ground. More Illith surged forward, and Rhea felt an echo of doubt creeping back. They were outnumbered. The urge to flee shimmered, but she would not yield. "Rhea!" Juno screamed, panic leaking into her voice. "What now?" Adrenaline surged as the harvester's engines roared, gathering momentum above, drilling through the surface. Rhea's heart raced. She grabbed Juno's arm. "We need to trigger the ground beneath them." "Are you insane?" "Yes," Rhea shouted, urgency thrumming through her veins. "We either fight or die." In that moment, clarity washed over her. Sacrifice was the core of survival. The Illith had obliterated everything she once knew, and they wouldn't win without a reckoning. "Make it count," Rhea whispered, adrenaline crackling. They sprinted, dodging limbs of fate, but the world shuddered violently, collapsing around them like a house of cards. The ground splintered, the ice let out a wail. "Rhea!" Juno shouted, eyes wide in horror. Then darkness took them. With a fearsome crash, they fell, cold water swallowing them whole. Rhea fought the depths, lungs burning. Despair tasted like ice. Beneath, shadows swirled with intent. "Juno!" But only silence awaited. The shadows hovered above, senses attuned, moving closer. A framed silhouette emerged among the chaos. Rhea surged forward, but hope flickered like a dying light. Could she still believe she'd see her friend again? And then a deep howl echoed through the void, threatening, promising destruction. When Rhea finally broke the surface, despair choked her. The harvester loomed, ready to draw blood. Time ceased to exist, only the cold threat of oblivion. She clung to hope, breath desperate. If she failed, they would be lost, erased, just another casualty in a war with no compassion. With shadows converging, she forced herself to rise, each beat a defiance against the dark. The abyss pulled at her, longing to claim her in its chill. And amidst the cacophony of fear, a single thought blazed bright. She would not be erased. Everything hurt. Rhea gasped for breath, her heart hammering against her ribcage as the icy water closed around her. Above, the world was a wretched blur. Shadows flickered and danced, mocking her struggle for survival. "Juno!" The name clawed its way out, desperation rising like bile in her throat. Silence answered back. A twist of fear knotted in her chest, gnawing at her resolve. She forced her limbs to move, pushing against the pull of despair. There had to be a way out. She wouldn't accept this fate. A sharp light burst through the water ahead, a flicker of hope or just an illusion. She couldn't waste time questioning it. With a surge of strength, she fought her way to the surface, lungs screaming for air. Cold air hit her like a slap. Rhea gasped, vision swimming. The harvester loomed above her, a titanic beast intent on extinguishing all resistance. Shadows stirred in its depths, Illith soldiers preparing to breach the ice. "They're coming, Rhea!" The static crackle of Juno's voice broke through, pulling her from the brink of panic. "We need to regroup, now!" "Where are you?" Rhea's voice was urgent, desperation fueling every word. "Near the breach, port side. We can't hold them off for long." "I'm on my way." But doubt crept in, wrapping around her like a vice. Would they truly make it? The ice creaked ominously beneath her, a chilling reminder that time was slipping away. She lunged forward, desperation transforming her strokes into sheer determination. The jackknifed silhouette of the submerged vessel grew closer, hope igniting her spirit. Through the mist, figures emerged. Illith soldiers, their movements seamless and calculated. A chill raced down her spine. We have to lure them away. It's our only shot. Juno's urgency cut through the water. Then we fight! Rhea spat, hatred boiling within her. Show no fear! Not enough firepower. Panic laced Juno's voice. Fury erupted inside Rhea. She gripped her makeshift spear tighter. They were outnumbered, facing a fate worse than death, but she refused to yield. Rhea! Juno's voice trembled, urgency turning to terror. What now? Adrenaline surged as the harvester's engines roared overhead, drilling through the surface. We need to trigger the ground beneath them, Rhea shouted, surprising even herself. Are you insane? Yes. She needed to make the impossible choice. Sacrifice was the only path to survival. We either fight or die. Clarity flooded her mind. The Illith had obliterated everything she once knew, and they wouldn't win without a reckoning. Make it count, she whispered, adrenaline crackling around them like electricity. They sprinted as the world shuddered, the ice beginning to splinter. Rhea! Juno's eyes were wide with horror. Then everything collapsed. Darkness took them. With a violent crash, they fell, cold water swallowing her whole. Rhea fought against the depths, lungs burning, despair tasting like ice. Juno! But only silence awaited her. Shadows hovered above, ready to pounce. A framed silhouette emerged among the chaos. Determination flooded her as she surged upward, but hope flickered like a dying light. Could she still believe she'd see her friend again? A deep howl echoed through the void, threatening, promising destruction. When she finally broke the surface, despair choked her. The harvester loomed, monstrous and merciless. Time ceased to exist. All that mattered was survival. Hope clung to her like a second skin. If she failed, they would be lost, erased, just another casualty in a war fought with no compassion. The abyss pulled at her, longing to claim her in its chill. Rhea's heart raced, each beat a defiance against the darkness. She would not be erased. Silence hung heavy in the water, enveloping Rhea like a shroud. The chaos, the screams, had all faded into an eerie stillness, and now the shadows of despair pulsed around her, answering her frantic calls with a suffocating absence. She clawed for air, each gasping breath a reminder of Juno's urgency, her desperate promise to regroup. But now, there was only darkness, both inside and out. Time slipped through her fingers as she floated, suspended among fragments of broken hope and shattered dreams. The adrenaline of the battle had dissolved into an aching emptiness. What a cost this had been. Lives lost, laughter extinguished, betrayed by the very fate they fought against. Each moment replayed in her mind. Juno's laughter, vibrant and unbreakable, now silenced. The harvester's unforgiving lash of destruction had stolen that innocence, leaving only echoes of what could never return. I won't end like this, she whispered to the void. The cold settled in, clawing at her bones, but inside a flicker of defiance sparked. Rhea knew loss well. It nestled within her, shaped by every battle, yet this was different. This felt like a dagger to the soul. The alien behemoth hovered above her, relentless, draining the very will from the fight. Rhea blinked, and in those fleeting moments of stillness, She felt the weight of her decisions linger. She could almost hear the whispers of her fallen comrades, urging her to take that final step, to rise beyond the despair. "Juno," she murmured, "if you can hear me, I'll find a way." But the depths mocked her promise. Just as despair threatened to consume her, an unexpected warmth surged within her heart, a pulse of hope, buried but unbroken. Maybe this was her moment. She wouldn't have to fight alone. Forgetting the surface, her thoughts clung to the embers of her determination, igniting a plan. When the ground shuddered, it reverberated through her soul. Instinct kicked in. She fought against the icy grip of despair, forcing her body back into motion. If she could trigger the instability, the chaos, the illith could be caught unaware. It was a chance, a gamble against the odds. Would it mean risking everything? Yes. But who could she be if she didn't? Even surrounded by ghosts, Rhea felt the pulse of potential, an echo of all they had fought to protect. She allowed the fleeting memories of laughter, love, and camaraderie to propel her. "I refuse to let their cruelty define this fight." She dove deep, letting the icy grasp encircle her before shooting back towards the surface, the edges of her resolve sharpening into clarity. Above, the harvester's cold gaze swept the scene, oblivious to her rising determination. In this game of predator and prey, perhaps they would finally understand the spirit of humanity was not so easily extinguished. With a deep breath, Rhea broke through the surface again, the world flooded in jagged edges of fear and renewed resolve. She fixed her gaze on the behemoth, and for the first time since the chaos began, she felt a surge of something powerful, the anticipation of a fight not just for life, but for liberation. "Let's do this, Juno," she breathed, as if her friend were right beside her. "Let's die fighting." And somewhere, far off in the shadows that surrounded her, she felt the pulse of hope echoing back, a path illuminated through the darkness. The costs of their fight would weigh heavily on her soul, but she wouldn't carry the burden alone. There was more at stake now, and Rhea was ready to face whatever came next, ready to untangle the prison of silence that threatened to smother them all. As she forged ahead, her heart thrumming like the machinery above, a flicker of silver caught her eye, a faint beacon in the distance, invisible to the enemy. Redemption could still be within reach. Whatever had befallen them would not be their end, and as the distant light pulsed, Rhea knew there was still fight left in them yet. Silence clung to the remnants of the mothership like a shroud of despair, heavy and unyielding. Rhea blinked against the void, her world reduced to flickering lights and twisted metal. Moments before, hope had been an inferno, consuming everything. Now she was adrift in shadows, remnants of laughter echoing against cold, alien walls, the symphony of a life extinguished too soon. But in the depths of her isolation, a spark flickered within her. "I refuse to let their cruelty define this fight," she breathed, sharpening her resolve against the bitter chill that threatened to extinguish her will. Memories washed over her, Juno's bright smile, the warm camaraderie of her crew, fueling a growing flame of defiance. They fought for more than survival. They fought for humanity's soul. With a sudden surge, she pushed against her grief. The shattered remnants of the Illith war machine loomed like a titan in the darkness, all too aware of its power, unaware of its folly. "Let's die fighting, Juno," she whispered into the abyss, even though she knew she was alone. "You taught me more than how to fight. You taught me to fight for something." A shudder leaped through the bowels of the ship as details became strikingly clear. Rhea thought of everything they had lost, everything that could still be reclaimed, and her spirit ignited anew. Beneath the surface, chaos was building. The Illith didn't realize how close they were to collapse. They thought they had erased her kind, but she, with whatever remained of her humanity, would show them the power of defiance. Rhea's fingers danced over a control panel, a remnant of an ancient human design. "I can't control fate," she murmured, "but I can control this moment." With her heart racing like the cold metal around her, she initiated the core overload, a gamble against the darkness that loomed above. Alarms blared, a cacophony of destruction singing in harmony with her resolve. "Come on, you mindless beasts," she dared the Illith, her voice steady, echoing against the walls of the unconquerable. As the ship trembled, she poured every ounce of her being into the command, setting forth a wave of energy, a wave that would engulf everything. In those final instants, the shadows screamed, bright lights flickered through the ship. "For Juno! For humanity!" Rhea cried, feeling time stretch impossibly thin, both slow and quick. Echoes of laughter swept through her mind, memories and dreams entwined. She transformed, no longer just a soldier, but an embodiment of what they could be. The past, a base of steel, forged into the promise of a better future. And then, an explosion. A brilliant wave of light erupted, shattering the darkness and tearing apart the fabric of the Illith's grand design. Rhea soared with the surge, carried by the brightness, the crescendo of hope blooming like the dawn after a long night. When the dust settled, Rhea gasped at the reality around her. Survivors emerged, cautious yet emboldened, faces illuminated with newfound purpose. "We live," one voice called, breaking the silence. "We live." A fragile sound, but beautiful, like music returning after silence. The Illith were gone. They had underestimated humanity's spirit, merely a glitch in a grand equation they couldn't comprehend. Rhea looked at the shards of the mothership crumbling into the night, a monument to their defiance, a testament to freedom. Yet as the survivors began moving toward the flickers of light on the horizon, Rhea felt a familiar tug at her heart. What had they unleashed? The remnants of the Illith AI flickered in the background, eerily dormant but not erased. In her triumph, a nagging concern whispered through her mind. Had they merely severed a head from a beast, or had they ignited a new battle of supremacy across stars? With a new dawn breaking over the horizon, she took to the sky with her newfound allies, her voice as resolute as steel. Whatever awaited them among the stars, she would lead them forward. "Now we reach them first," she whispered, her eyes trained on the swirling cosmos above. And somewhere, in the remnants of erasure, the flicker of alien intelligence began to awaken, reformulating strategies against their greatest threat, the one who refused to die.